Why watch others burn when God has already called you to be creative?
This is the Worship Team Training Podcast. Now, here's your host, Branon Dempsey.
Hello, hello, and hello, first-time listeners and also our faithful members of our Worship Team Training University and our awesome friends here at worshipteamtraining.com. And thank you so much, friends, for subscribing to the Worship Team Training Podcast, for your support and attention. We are back. The summer is over. I kind of wish it wasn't, but yet I'm glad that it is because our kids now have something to do. I hope that you kids are doing something fruitful and funful right now, and you're listening to this cast. So thank you so much. We appreciate all of our podcast listeners here at iTunes, iHeart, and Alexa. We thank you guys for coming in. And each week we do this very thing. It's called the Word of the Week, in which we take one word and we expound upon that word into a theme throughout the whole week here at Worship Team Training and Worship Team Training University to bring you shows, trainings, and events that revolve around the same topic. Our word of the week this week is creative, so we're going to be jumping into that in just a moment. But before we get to any of that good stuff, I got to tell you better stuff that's going to be happening right here at Worship Team Training University. You do not, for the life of you, want to miss this coming week because we have a new show schedule. So hear me out. Hear me out. We have a new show schedule. That's right. No longer Tuesdays. We've been getting some people telling us that, hey, we have staff meetings on Tuesday. Hey, what about doing some things on Wednesday? And so as a staff, together we just said, hey, why don't we get the people what they want? So there you have it, people. Podcasts are now on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So on Wednesdays, in place of our regular Tuesday shows, we're now moving those same shows to Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Central. So the Facebook Live, Periscope, iTunes, iHeartRadio broadcasts that you catch every week will now be on Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Central if you listen and watch live. And if you listen and watch by the playback, then you'll get that whenever you want. And then for Thursday, our members at Worship Team Training University, that also changes to 12 p.m. on Thursdays. So we like to do things your way. I mean, this is what makes serving you guys so great because we get to give you what you want. So speaking of, to give you what you want, this past week we've had Casey Curran from Vineyard Worship come out and do a song special, actually a whole album release introduction. So you make sure that you catch that going back to the events calendar at wttu-co-events. And also our Facebook page, that's facebook.com/worship team training, and look for August the 29th, 2018, Casey Curran. That's our brown bag special. You don't want to miss that. Coming up this week, new shows for this Wednesday. We're going to be talking about things to know about your creative leadership. You don't want to miss that. 11 things that you need to know. Join us. That's coming up September the 4th on Wednesday at 12 p.m. Remember, time change. And then also, when we talk about creative people, I cannot help but to think about top guys like, I don't know, what's the name? Stephen Brewster, maybe? This guy is ultra cool, ultra creative, ultra authentic down to the bone about Jesus, interweaving the gospel through art and through media and through creative leadership. So that is going to be our topic, Tips for Creative Leadership by Stephen Brewster, hosted by yours truly. Join us on the 6th. That is August. That is at 12 p.m. Central. You don't want to miss it. And you'll catch everything there. So everything else you can catch us on our Facebook page I just mentioned. Also catch Worship Team Training on Instagram, and as well as follow our Bible highlights and YouVersion. Search Worship Team Training Branon Dempsey and interact and follow us on Snapchat and Twitter. And don't forget to go back to worshipteamtraining.com to get our newsletter. When you load that page, the splash page will come up telling you to sign up for that Monday morning digest that will come to you at your inbox every Monday morning. And we thank you guys for subscribing to the newsletter as well. So let's get on with it, shall we? Here's your word of the week, creative. Definition: relating to or involving the imagination or original ideas, especially in the production of an artistic work, having good imagination or original ideas. Here is your verse of the week, coming from Isaiah 45:18. For this is what the Lord says, He who created the heavens, He is God. He who fashioned and made the earth, He founded it. He did not create it to be empty, but formed it to be inhabited. He says, I am the Lord, and there is no other. I love that verse because when you talk about creativity, we're talking about the master right here. And that He formed everything to be inhabited, not to be empty. So this podcast, I pray that in this session today, this will teach you how to fill or be inspired from the void. Because again, God formed you not to be empty. That's right. Question of the week. It's a two-part question, so twofer. Here we go. Number one, what does it mean to be creative? Number two, how do you lead a team of creatives? Well, let's jump into it. Creativity, at best, was said. I found this quote by Vincent van Gogh. I love it. Impressionistic era artist, painter, sculptor. He said, and he's also known for painting the Starry Night, so you guys should know this. He said it this way about creativity. If you hear a voice within you say you cannot paint, then by all means paint, and that voice will be silenced. I love it. Another great, I consider a creative, back from the 20th century of our time, by George Washington Carver. And this guy who invented the 1001 ways of the peanut and the peanut itself, he said it this way: when you can do a common thing in an uncommon way, you will have command the attention of the world. Again, when you can do a common thing in an uncommon way, you will command the attention of the world. Man, I don't know which quote is better. I love them both. But drawing from these two statements, it tells me that creativity starts with having a voice, something to say. It may be bold, humble, strong, or maybe even so simplistic that it stands out to you because it has something to say. Creativity is nothing man has designed, but something God made. When we read the Bible, the first thing we see is, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Genesis 1:1. That, my friend, is the most purest and simplistic display of creation the world has ever known. God imparts creativity, ideas, and inspiration to His people. So the question is, what are we doing with it? And how are we helping others? Well, our Worship Team Training University members know creativity is something that is both given and to be given away. In other words, when we receive from the Lord, we give by the Lord. If God gave you a voice to sing, a skill to play an instrument, a skill to paint, write, produce, engineer, then it is actually His gift that He shared with you to be shared with others. So let that burn in your brain a moment. Because yes, it's not about your gift. It's about the gift that you give to others. The art you create is a blessing to be enjoyed by the church and the world in need of the Messiah. So now, how are you sharing the gift God put inside you? That's the question that I ask you. It's a question that I often ask myself. God, what am I doing right now with this talent for playing guitar, drums, keyboard, voice, whatever you want to name it? How am I using that for you? And most of all, how am I using that to serve others? I found it disappointing this past week. Many of you know Senator John McCain had passed away, a very sad moment. And there's been a lot of political debacle about it all over the place, and I'm not going to go there. But one thing that really stood out to me, a quote that John McCain said, coming from himself, of course. He has said, any greater work that goes beyond you, that goes beyond itself, you're going to experience hurt. any greater work that goes beyond you, you're going to experience hurt. Now, a lot of our artists out there, think, well, I'm really hurting right now, Branon, because I cannot come up with the song, or I can't finish this line, or I can't finish this one piece of music, or whatever. Okay? Totally get it. You know what? If you're experiencing pain, then you're in the right place. I've been talking to a recent worship leader who's been telling me, hey, Branon, I am X amount of years old, and I still do not know how to play keyboard. My question was, well, then what's stopping you? I think the biggest hurt that we cause to ourselves is one that doesn't involve any creativity at all, but it really involves more of a I can't, or I don't have time, or any other fill-in-the-blank excuse right now. So, look, I go back to my younger years, and I think, how do I stay inspired today? How do I stay inspired week to week in leading worship, developing my craft, practicing? Yeah, I know. Look, I get it. Well, I don't have time for that, Branon. Well, that's both your excuse and your responsibility. I mean, the excuse is that none of us can find time. That's the reality. But our responsibility says, yes, we can find time. We do have every avenue and opportunity to dig a ditch and get dirty, simply put. I remember in my younger years, I painted, I colored, I played drums, keyboard, guitar like there was no tomorrow. I mean, from the time I was 5. And you may have something similar. Maybe it was 13, maybe it was 23 for you. But even to this day, I'm constantly drumming or strumming out music at the coffee table to the turntables, And even when I look at our sons now, they have the bug for creativity. I mean, our 4-year-old races to his room every day after kindergarten to set up his Tupperware boxes, plastic plates, and he goes for it, man. Our 8-year-old hunts after nature. He's outside. He takes pictures and loves putting together even Lego videos inside the house. So he's got this both inside and outside the house kind of thing going on with photography, and he loves music as well. But reality is that creativity is all around us, but helping to inspire that flame of creativity to help others starts with you and me. At every weekend workshop here at Worship Team Training, I always speak about creativity and how to lead creatives, because you may think, well, yeah, but I'm just the bass player, or I'm just the guy behind the board, or I'm just the person on the vocal team rotation. You know what? If you have a gift and a talent, that's creative. Anything that maybe you didn't write a song, no, maybe you didn't invent an app or a website, it doesn't matter. You don't need to do those things to be considered a creative. Just the fact that you have a talent, you're creative. I mean, think about it. You may think that your voice is not a big deal, or you're playing or whatever, but look at the next guy in your church. They may not have that gift. They're not as creative as you, but they may be creative in other ways. So, leading a team takes a lot of work. Building a creative team takes a lot of beating, is what I say. And you may ask, well, how do I find creatives in our church? How do I find that team? How do I find that extra guitar player? Well, it's not hard. Just like my oldest son enjoying nature, all you have to do is open your eyes and look around. One thing I do is to get to know people, find out where they work, what they like, their hobbies, pastimes, so forth. But keep in mind, it's not about recruiting people. That's a different thing. Leading a team of creatives is not the same thing, as much as it is learning how to inspire them and grow with your team. Understand when you get to know them, find out what makes your people tick. Send them a link of your favorite article or a book that you may find in common. Maybe you found something interesting that they would enjoy. Make time for your team. Take your team on a field trip downtown or in the country somewhere. Watch a band that plays on the weekend, whatever. Go to the Museum of Fine Arts. Go, better yet, venture into your own retreat outside of town. Get a team of people together to start, writing songs, poetry, even a Bible study can be creative. I mean, you name it. But the thing is, you want to pour into your people. Send them texts, notes to your members. Let them know how much you appreciate and enjoy them. Let them hear how they're making an impact with their art. And don't be afraid to challenge them. I mean, have them go to the next level. Push their own threshold. And of course, be daring. Dare them to fail. I mean, I know that sounds kind of unorthodox, but test the limits. One show that my wife and I are really getting into right now, it's called Hard to Kill, and it's on the History Channel. And I love it because it's about a ex-Green Beret who is highly trained in Special Forces, puts himself in the most dangerous positions, and learns how to survive, and teaches others how to do it through anything from flying a Air Force military aircraft to being in a jungle to jumping out of airplanes to climbing a mountain. I mean, anything. And it's not like your typical survival shows, like the guy that's out in the desert and he learns how to make a whole tent and a kitchen with his bandana on his leg. It's nothing like that. I mean, this is more about a guy that's learning how to be creative in very uncomfortable situations, to be comfortable, to learn a way out, to learn what it means to not survive, but to thrive. And that's why I say, I dare you to challenge your members to fail. Because in that, you don't learn about survival, you learn about thrival. And when you can learn how to thrive, your creativity takes off to brand new horizons. Much of the time, you will learn that creativity and leading a team of creatives becomes an art within itself. And importantly, as committed worship team training leaders, you will find that the art of the gospel message sings its way into the heart of your congregation. While spurring on your brothers and sisters to aim and shoot higher, you are being the catalyst God is using to set your ministry on fire. So, let that fire burn and see what the Holy Spirit does to inspire your team, your church, and you. Further questions I ask you. What is a creative? How do you know you are or someone you know is a creative? What are the needs of creatives for your ministry? What type of environment works best for a creative? Who in the Bible is an example of a creative? Are there any exclusive struggles or anything that creatives are more prone to struggle with? So we think about the art of being a creative. I mean, most of us as musicians or tech, some struggles that I know that are out there are what? Confidence, learning how to generate ideas, learning how to be secure within those ideas, learning how to be a team player. All those things are, I think, infiltrate our sense of creativity. And you've heard of writer's block. Well, there you go. So how do you overcome those things? So these are the kind of topics that we're going to be dealing with on both Wednesday and Thursday. You don't want to miss it. 12 p.m. Wednesday, facebook.com/worship team training. 12 p.m. Thursday with Stephen Brewster at Worship Team Training University. So as in this podcast that you just heard, I ask you the question, would you like the same kind of personal and customized attention for your whole entire worship team? Well, you want to check out worshipteamtraining.com/workshops and learn what it means to have a fun, intuitive, creative way to step up the skills and heart of your worship team. And best of all, we come to you. So members, check it out. Make sure that you check the calendar for the next few dates coming. The Wednesday show, the daily trains coming up, the Thursday training, much, much more. And also this month's worship leader webinar. You don't want to miss that. And that's going to be appearing very soon on the calendar. And here at Worship Team Training and our university, we are for you. We are here for you to aspire to excellence, elevate your skill, and transform your ministry. So check us out at wttu-co and find out how you can get your own downloadable trial now. And if you want to try us for free, hit me up on an email. That's Branon, Branon at wttu.co. Again, that's Branon at wttu.co. Guys, we thank you so much for checking out all the events here at wttu.co/events. And if you haven't yet, we invite you to become a member. Most of all, if you like this podcast, thank you so much for downloading it. And we praise you and thank you for your support and humbly ask you to give us a 5-star rating on iTunes or iHeartRadio. And even better, as said always, share this podcast with a friend. We hope that you're encouraged by this word of the week to be transformed for the leading of worship. And remember, you don't need to be perfect. Just let God transform the way you live life and the way you lead worship. I'm Branon Dempsey, worshipteamtraining.com and Worship Team Training University. See you next time. Bye.
This has been a Worship Team Training broadcast and digital production with your host and training director, Branon Dempsey. Worship Team Training provides live workshops and online resources to help inspire, create, and transform the leading of worship. We'll see you again right here on worshipteamtraining.com.